Hi guys, welcome back to the studio. This month in your art box you will have supplies for copper tooling, and so in there you're going to have a wooden box with some double-sided copper tape. We're going to stick the copper on there, and you'll have a little notebook with tape also, so just leave the tape on until we're ready to put the copper on. And then you'll have an embossing tool. It's going to be what you're going to use for doing your design, doing the tooling of the copper, and a little paper stump. You'll have some foam, and then you'll have a piece of black cardstock that we're going to use as a mat to frame one of our pieces, an artist card, and of course your piece of copper. Okay, so then the copper is a big sheet, and as I have said on the emails and such, that it's very sharp, okay, because each piece I had to cut. So it's very sharp on the edges. Alright, so just be super careful. And when you're cutting it yourself, when we measure and stuff, if you want to use some gloves, you can do that. Or just be super careful. And so for today, if you have and can grab a ruler, scissors, a pencil, and because we're going to cut the copper. Alright, so before we do that, let's talk about our artist. So here's our artist card, and on the front you'll see an image of the Statue of Liberty. Alright, and on the back is the artist who designed the Statue of Liberty. His name is Frederick Augusta Bartoli, and he was born in France August 2nd, 1834, and he died in France October 4th, 1904. He was known for sculpture and painting, and you can read about here he was a sculptor and painter. And I don't know if you know this, but the Statue of Liberty is called the Liberty Enlightening the World. That's what he named it. He also was a painter, so he painted portraits. He used oil colors, watercolor photography, and of course he drew a lot. He did a lot of drawings, and it's very interesting. If you're fascinated by the Statue of Liberty and how it was made, you could go online and look it up, or go to the library and look up some books. Was quite a project. Okay. Let's see, I have it written down here. It took, they started in 1875, and it was opened in 1886. All right, I'm looking here for some pictures I want to show you. Bartoldi, this is a picture of him. All right. This is one of his sculptures, a different sculpture that he did. And look at this one. It's a huge lion, and it's made out of stone. And look at how small the person is right there. Okay. This was another bronze sculpture of Columbus, which actually they took down in 2020. This is a detail face of the Statue of Liberty. Here they are constructing it. So what they did was they built it in France, and then they brought it over here in pieces, and it's on Liberty Island in New York. And perhaps you visited, or maybe someday you'll go. But see, look at this, is the hand and the arm, and those are the people. So it's quite large. Look, these are the toes of her foot. I do know that it's 300 feet and 1 inch tall. Here's some more pictures. So what it is on the inside is a frame. It's an iron frame, and then they took copper sheets and they hammered it around there, and then so all the sheets, and so the pieces came over from France, and then they erected it in New York. It's pretty interesting. And when the head and crown was done, they put it on display over in France before they brought it over. Just it's really amazing, all the little folds of fabric and all the details. It's very interesting. And there's a picture of the whole thing finished. Okay. So to tell you a little bit about copper tooling, I pulled some images from online that were just this one is just a design, all right? Just to kind of give you an idea of what we're going to be doing. Some more design work. This one's of a flower, a seahorse, and some simple flowers, okay? So I will show you a couple things that I've done. I like to do design work. This kind of abstract design. So this is a piece, so you can see it's just some different designs, some waves, some markings, okay? I think it's fun just to tool and kind of see how it goes on that. And then I'll show you another one here. This one, same thing, just different design work put together. All right. So you guys can start thinking about your design, or if you want to make just an abstract design, or if you want to do a scene or a write. And I'm going to kind of show you some different ideas of how we're going to use the copper. I mean, how you can tool it, and then you can kind of decide on your design as you go. All right. So first thing though, you have a 12-inch sheet of copper, and you want to make sure that you have enough for all the projects. Okay. So the first thing I did is that for the matted piece, we want to we're going to put a piece of copper here. We're going to tool a piece of copper and then frame it on this piece of black paper there, the cardstock. And so what I did first was I got a piece of copy paper and measured out 5 by 7. Okay, so 5 by 7, you just take your ruler, and what I do is I just measure here, mark it, and then mark it here, and you take your ruler and you draw a straight line, and then you measure down 7 and 7 here and here, couple points, and then you line up your ruler with the points, draw a straight line. So this piece is 5 by 7, okay? And then the little book, when I measured it, is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. All right, so then you draw a box for 4 1/2, 4 1/2, and then 3 1/4 this way. And then cut those out, okay? So when I cut those out, I have a 5 by 7, the 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. So the box, we're gonna have to measure from the side to the top and over the side. See, I put the tape so that the copper will bend over it, okay? So that is 7 1/2 by 3 7/8. Okay, because when you take your paper, you're going to bend it over both sides here. Okay, like that. All right, so you have to have all these pieces for the copper, and if you put them around, you can see that you want to save as much copper as possible. So if we put this piece here, maybe this piece here, and this piece here, then we have this big piece of copper left over. Okay, so I'm going to trace around these. If I lay my piece of paper here, it's a little bumpy on this edge. Maybe I'll turn it. And I hand cut the copper, and so it's not 100%, completely. So you'll have to kind of draw it, measure it, and then cut it out straight. If it's not straight enough, it could be, but probably not. See, like this right here is not that straight, so I can just trim that off. All right. I'm just using a pencil, and then I'll cut that out, okay? And so then I'll put this piece here, this piece here, maybe I'll put that straight up there. And the pencil should work if you just kind of push on there a little bit. You won't have to worry about it bending and stuff because it's going to get real bent when we tool it anyway. And actually, if you use your ruler, you put your ruler on there, that would help it. Be real careful. Don't cut yourself. Things do happen. Put the ruler here, last line. Okay, so then I'll cut up this side. Just take your time, and then just make sure that you're watching your fingers and your hands, your skin, so that it's not going to cut you. And maybe you can have an adult do this part so that you just stay real safe, okay? Alright, so I'm not going to cut all this off on camera, cut this out on camera, but I'll be cutting this piece out, and then I'll have this left over. And then I'll trim this piece, alright? And so after you do that, you're going to have a nice square left over. And I would keep a nice chunk for, like, if you want to do another project, or you'll see, and then just maybe use a strip to practice on. And so I have a strip that I cut out. That was a leftover piece. I'm going to show you guys some ideas, alright? Some things to first try. So if you have your foam, the foam is used so that you can lay your copper on. So because copper is metal, it can expand by pressing it, and it's called tooling, where we're going to do it on one side and we're going to turn over and we're going to tool it on the other side and back and forth. All right, and so you can get your stylus as your tool, and some people just, like in class, a lot of times we use just pencils. Or we use these wooden styluses. Also, they work just fine. But these are kind of fun because they make nice circles also, okay? So what you do is, if I were you, I would just start with some easy designs, just so you can see kind of what the copper does. So let's say even just a line. If you take your tool and you just make some lines on this side, let's say we'll make 5 lines. Okay, so you can just literally just draw on the copper like that. You can just write on it. But if let's pretend like this is the front, and I want to put this, I want to make lines, but I want them to pop out. So if I turn it over and draw the lines on the back side, then when I turn it to the front, the copper has popped out. Okay, and then I can go around it. I can go around it this side. If I want them to pop out, just make like a different design. I can go in between the lines and make kind of a different effect. All right. See how, I hope you can see that on the camera, how it's popping out from this side. Okay, so why don't you just, and then you can go back, and it's the tooling, you can tool it back on the back side, and turn it over, and it even pops out even more on this side. So the copper is, because of the metal, like I was saying, it can really expand. When I did this piece, I really tooled it back and forth on the back and then the front, and I really made this copper expand and just kind of grow. Okay, but it takes a lot of time, and it's fun, and you'll have to give your hand a little rest too, every now and then. Alright, so let's see, if you did just little lines, and maybe you want to do a shape, just a kind of a half circle, like a little rainbow shape. Like this, okay, and maybe one like this, maybe something in front there, All right, but if you do it, and then if you turn it around and you tool it on this side, which means I'm going to push down on this in between, and I'm going to go around the design. Let's look at the front. See how different that looks? Okay. So, and if we want these little dots to come out, you guys just have fun, back and forth, try different ideas. If I take this little tool and I go around in circles to make this little dot pop out the front, then you have a nice little bubble here on the front. And if you go around it like this, you can really make it pop out too. Okay? Hopefully you can see that. And also try some circles. You can just draw, like we were saying, draw a couple circles. Take your time, press pretty hard, and you have a nice circle. But if you turn it over and you tool it on this side, you could push it in the center, make little circles, maybe go around it. And when you see it on the front, it's a whole different look. And you can go back around it again if you want. Okay. Now, if you want, let's say if you want like a little ring, you could do this way. A circle inside of a circle. And then turn it over. And go around. Whoops, I went in the middle. And that changes the look also. Okay. And sometimes your stylus slips and it just goes a whole different way, and that you just kind of go with it because there's really no way to fix it with the copper. All right. See, that's let's try just some zigzag. You go up and down like this. Follow the design. It's a nice design, but if you turn it over, tool it on this side, in between the lines, turn it back over, and it really makes it pop. See that? All right. Now, if we turn it over to right from the beginning, let's do just kind of a wavy line. If you turn it over to the front, you can see the line is protruded on the front there. And if you go in between them, then you can really change the look again. Okay. All right. It's kind of nice. Now, if you want to write on the copper, let's say if you wanted to write art, I could just write here art. And that looks fine. But if I wanted to, you know, be out, if I want the design to pop out the front, then I'm going to have to write it backwards. All right, so I would write A, R, then turn it over, and then it pops out the front. And see, then I can go around it and give it a whole nother look. Okay. But if you write it this way, you can do that too. You can just go around it and just see, you know, kind of play with it, see how you like the copper look, if you want it to, which way you want it to look, go pop out. Either have an indentation or have it come out, the concave convex. kind of sort of thing. Like here, I had some that I drew on the back and pressed real hard, and then some of them I did from the front. Okay, so just depending on what you want, you can change the look. And do a little bit of each, because it looks nice. It gives it some interest if there's a little bit of a difference. Don't just write on it, go back and forth, and it's called tooling it, and just have fun with the design, alright? Another I like to just, sometimes just draw a line, and then follow the line. Who knows, maybe you want to do something, but then turn it over and do tool it on the back and really push it. If I really push hard right here, maybe right here too. And turn it over. You can see that it's starting to really push out, okay? You can also use your stylus if you want to, your paper stump if you want to. Just make it a little bit smoother. When you're done and you want to go back over the lines and make them a little smoother, you can use your paper stump. Okay? Just makes it a little smoother. Like I was saying, sometimes we just use a pencil too. And that works also. And actually what we do is we usually break the tip off and then we use the wood part. Okay. Alright, so for this week I think just cut the copper, be real careful, and then start thinking about your design, alright? So next video we're going to talk a little bit more about design, but let's start with a little mini composition book and think about what you want to put on here, okay? It may be if you want to write your name or a word or some kind of inspiration, a couple words, you can do that. And then let's think about like the edges, how we want that to look. Maybe we want to break it up in a couple sections, like a little patchwork quilt. You could break it up into little sections, you can do that too. I will discuss that with you guys a little bit more in the next video, okay? Have fun, be careful, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.